Club in Arkansas said he was ashamed about what has come about in the emails, makes no excuses for it. It's shameful, added he's a good person, asks for forgiveness, hopes to get another shot. Yankee starter Jameson Taillon sustained a right forearm contusion, was pulled from last night's win over the Angels after being hit by a line drive. X-rays for a possible fracture were negative, the team hoping he does not miss any time. Serena Williams in the spotlight tonight again at the U.S. Open for her second-round match in her final major before retiring. Coverage 7 Eastern, ESPN TV.
The Blitz has been called. Welcome to the Recruiting Blitz with D Squared.
It is time to share your decision. Where are you headed to school?
Ooh, Alabama gets the #1 safety in the country. What was it about Alabama?
LSU Tigers, #1. Go Tigers.
And the next 4 years, I'm going to Denver University.
Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977. Now, here's D Squared.
Welcome, everyone, to this Wednesday edition of the Recruiting Blitz. I'm D Squared, Drew DeArmond, and we are going to have a great show today, great recruiting conversation. If you want to join the show, 256-576-4977, and we're going to have an outstanding first-year high school coach on with us in just a few minutes, Jarrell Jernigan. And if that name sounds familiar to you, and it should, Troy Trojan. Great player under Larry Blakeney, who had just an unbelievable run there. Transitioning Troy from an FCS program to an FBS program. They beat the likes of Oklahoma State at Troy. They did a great job while he was there. They developed guys like Jarrell, third-round draft choice of the New York Giants, OCU Manura, Super Bowl champion. Jarrell was on that team that upset the New England Patriots. Coach Jernigan in his first year at the helm of the Eufaula Tigers. Certainly Eufaula has an outstanding tradition in their own right. They won state titles in 1978, 1981. Also, back in the I guess before the modern era, they won a mythical state title in 1952 as well. But they played for a state title as recently as 2006 when Rob Ezel, Alan Creasy, and Cody Gross being the OC, the Athens Golden Eagles won a 5A state championship over the Eufaula Tigers and some cat named Courtney Upshaw, who became a pretty good football player for the University of Alabama, playing on the edge, and then played several years in the NFL as a defensive tackle. Courtney Upshaw, outstanding player. He was a tight end defensive lineman for the Eufaula Tigers, and now Alabama has another great player committed, Yanze Pierre, unbelievable edge rusher, and they've played a jamboree in two-half jamboree, and then one real game. They won 22-14 in their season opener in week 1 last week. In week 0, again, they played a jamboree, but they are 1-0, 22-14 winners over Stanhope Elmore and Yanze Pierre in both the jamboree and the first ball game. Did an outstanding job. His stat line was really good, and I'm going to credit BamaOnline.com for that. But Yanze, 6 tackles and tackle for loss, 4 pass breakups, 4 QB pressures, and a 2-point conversion catch in that season opening 22-14 win. The week before, in that jamboree, 7 tackles, 6 for a loss, a sack, forced fumble, fumble recovery, and fumble return for a touchdown as Eufaula played Russell County and Southside Selma in a 2-half jamboree. Eufaula beating Southside Selma 35-6, and yet they fall to Russell County 14-0. But again, those games, those 2 halves did not count. They are 1-0, and we're going to talk some Eufaula Tigers football with Jarrell Jernigan. He's going to be good enough to join us around 9:30ish between 9:25 and 9:30. Jarrell Jernigan going to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jan Zapier has kind of been a guy that hadn't received a lot of buzz because he committed to Alabama so early, but he's a big part of the class, and he's extremely talented. I know he came to camp and still worked out. You know, he didn't have to work out for the University of Alabama staff, but he still did, and he did one well of the job for Alabama. And really, there was, I heard a lot of buzz coming out about Jarrell Jernigan and this young man, Jan Zapier, and the show he put on at Alabama's camp. I think he's a guy that could see his rating definitely continue to rise. He's considered a solid 4-star prospect, but you know, we're going to talk some Jan Zapier with his first-year head coach, who was really on that defensive staff before being elevated to head coach, and so he knows Janze very well. Janze listed 6'4", 220 pounds, and again, committed very early to the University of Alabama. He committed in April, mid-April, right after a few days after my birthday. I, of course, my birthday here, D-Squared, Drudy Armand, on April the 11th, and April 14th of this year, during spring practice, Jan Zapier committed to the University of Alabama. I think he's a very solid commit and a really good football player, who will be an edge guy for the University of Alabama. When you talk edge players, a lot of times his name doesn't get mentioned, but I think he's got a chance to be a really good pass rusher. He has really good knee bend. He stays low. His film is very impressive, and like we said, got off to a very strong start in their two-half jamboree against Southside Selma in Russell County, and then in their real game, 22-14 win for the Eufaula Tigers against Stanhope Elmore. Stanhope Elmore out of Millbrook, a tradition-rich program in their own right. So just credit Jan Zapier and their start and his strong statistical start as well. And the Eufaula Tigers still in 5A Region 2. And we will talk to Jarrell Jernigan about his program, how he sees his first year with Eufaula, and what he's seen as far as growth-wise out of his pupil, Jan Zapier, and what he thinks his potential could be. And is there a comparison? I know certainly Jarrell was playing college football in his own right during the era of Courtney Upshaw, because they basically were coming out of high school into the college game around the same time. Courtney Upshaw, I believe was a senior in 2011. He played 4 years for the University of Alabama. I believe he played in 8, 9, 10, and 11, and then played his best football on that 2011 defense. He was an unbelievable player. Made a huge play in that 2009 national championship game, as everybody knows. He recovered the fumble after Eric Anders sacked the Texas QB, Garrett Gilbert. That fumble was recovered. That basically clinched the national championship. Mark Ingram scoring the touchdown afterwards. But Courtney Upshaw recovering that fumble for the University of Alabama in the 2009 national championship game, was on that football team, and then went on to, as we said, a really good pro career after that 2011 season, and had a really good, solid pro career, mostly with the Atlanta Falcons as a defensive tackle. But Courtney Upshaw, a very good player out of Eufaula, and Jan Zapier following in those footsteps. And Jan Zay, part of that number 1 ranked recruiting class for the University of Alabama, 21 commitments. It's a consensus top class in all the polls you look toward, the on3sports.com, 24/7 Sports, SI All-American. Those are your 3 main ones that you look to, and they're number 1 in all those. So certainly Nick Saban and his staff doing a great job with this recruiting class. Jan Zapier committing in mid-April, on April the 14th. And so he's a guy that, again, the earlier you commit, sometimes you get forgotten about by the fans because they always focus on the next commitment, always focus on waiting until they get these guys signed. But Jan Zapier was somebody I think Alabama identified early. They definitely went after him hard because they believe he's got a chance to be a really good pass rusher. And so he's a big piece of the puzzle. Everybody always focuses on Peter Woods. going to Clemson, at least for now, and Kelby Collins, but they got a guy like Yanze Pierre committed early, and Jarrell Jernigan, one of the great young coaches in the state of Alabama, is set to join us in a few minutes here on the Recruiting Blitz. And you can join us on the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio right now. I'm D Squared, Drew DeArmond. You can join us, 256-576-4977. If you want to talk some recruiting, if you want to talk about Alabama, you want to talk about Auburn, how the SEC as a whole, which is the best league in America. They recruit at the highest level. We can certainly talk some recruiting and on the Recruiting Blitz, and we certainly look forward to doing that. And we also want to give a shout out to his high school coach, of course, is Mitchell Wright, the brother of Kyle Wright, the absolute great pitcher, the right-hander who will be on the bump tonight, going for I believe his 17th win. I believe he's 16-5 right now. Kyle Wright is for the Atlanta Braves. He's going to be on the bump tonight, but he's going to be pitching tonight, and his brother Mitchell Wright has taken over, for Frankie Perez, our great friend at Hazel Green, who went to Thompson, won a state championship for the Trojans just a few seasons ago. But this rising junior, this young man at Hazel Green, Jackson Hunter, one of the best young pitchers in the state of Alabama, he committed to the University of Alabama, and Coach Brad Bohannon in baseball last night, officially on social media. Jackson Hunter, right-handed pitcher, he is now committed to the University of Alabama from Hazel Green, and so you got to give him a lot of credit. He's going to be a big part of Hazel Green Trojan baseball, and I'm sure we'll try to touch base with him and Mitchell Wright and see if we can perhaps get them on the Recruiting Blitz to talk about his process, because, again, he's another young man in our community in Madison County, and there's a lot of great baseball here. A lot of guys playing professional baseball. I think everybody knows on our sister station on ESPN 97.7 The Zone, Scott Tyson and I have a very good relationship with Brewer Hickland, one of the classiest and greatest athletes that I've ever had the honor of covering and doing radio for. I certainly was honored during his 3 years as a Huntsville Crimson Panther on the varsity football team, that being when he was a 3-year starter, first at corner and then 2 years at quarterback for the Crimson Panthers, and for Coach Scott Scooby Sharp, certainly Brewer Hickland was a great two-sport athlete at Huntsville High, an outstanding football player as a DB and then quarterback, and then as a catcher for the Huntsville Crimson Panthers. Now, he was such a great athlete. He's now an outfielder, and the Kansas City Royals organization has gotten a couple of call-ups this year. Hopefully, maybe starting next year, he will be a full-fledged major league player for the Kansas City Royals. But he's certainly had an unbelievable year in AAA. We congratulate him. He's worked his way up. At one point in time, he was the highest drafted player in UAB baseball history, because that's where he certainly matriculated for his college career. He was a 7th-round pick, but his teammate at Huntsville High the next year got drafted out of UAB after transferring from Mississippi State. Graham Ashcraft, left-handed pitcher, he went in the 6th round. And so those two guys from Huntsville High, the two highest drafted UAB Blazers, and now Graham, of course, is a starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, and had a good year. Now, he was recently on the Blitz with the guys, with Smokey Mike Concho, the Bandyman, and then Bailey and those guys, Bailey Lowry, and then also John Abraham. So those guys do a great job. Bailey does, Smokey Mike and John, and then catch them from 2 to 4 every Monday through Friday. They also had Gary Reedus on this week, one of the great athletes in North Alabama history, former coach at Calhoun Community College, major league coach as well. He's just a guy that's impacted baseball in so many ways as an athlete. And so they talked to Gary Reedus this week. And again, last week, Graham Ashcraft joined the show. So really excited about the Blitz, and it's continuing to build. And we're really excited about the Recruiting Blitz here on the Blitz Sports Radio. And again, you can give us a call, 256-576-4977. And don't forget to download our app. You can download the Blitz app on both the major ones, the Google Store and, of course, the Apple Store. Download the Blitz Sports Radio app so you can listen to our streaming program every day. The Recruiting Blitz with D Squared will be every Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. And also we have the Blitz from 2 to 4. So you can hear from guys like Graham Ashcraft. We've had Brewer Hicklin on many times on Talking Ball, our morning show from 7 to 9 a.m. on our sister station, ESPN 97.7 The Zone. And what we are saying is Brewer Hicklin has had a tremendous year in AAA this year. I believe he's turned into one of the best all-around outfielders in all of minor league baseball. He's got 20 home runs this year, 20 stolen bases, just a tremendous, baseball player. And I think he's a guy that has a chance to stick as a major league player very soon. I mean, he's worked his way up, no question about that, with the Kansas City Royals organization, and he is just one heck of a ball player and an even better person. And I'm just very proud for him and proud of what he's accomplished, and we just want to see him get up there and become an everyday major leaguer. I think he's definitely capable of it. Certainly he played for another great friend of ours, Coach David Sharp, a longtime coach in our community, played at Lee for Butch Weaver, coached for him, and then for Mark Mincher before taking over that program. So he, of course, helped develop Brewer Hicklin. Brewer Hicklin, just a tremendous athlete, no doubt about that, and just what he's accomplished is unbelievable. And he also had 20 doubles this year. Don't want to leave that off for Brewer Hicklin. 20 homers, 20 doubles, and 20 stolen bases for our great friend Brewer Hicklin, and we hope he's going to be a Kansas City Royal full-time very soon. He certainly earned an opportunity to get up to the show and be a regular up there. And Kansas City's the kind of organization that will give him a shot because, again, they are an organization like the Atlanta Braves that a lot of times builds from within. They do a great job of drafting players and developing talent. They're not a big market, so they can't go out and spend a ton of money on free agency. So they have to spend a lot of time in the draft process and developing players. That's why they won a World Series a few seasons ago. So Brewer Hicklin, a part of that organization, and hopefully going to be up full-time soon with the Kansas City Royals. And it shows you in the Recruiting Blitz, we don't just talk football recruiting. We talk basketball recruiting. R.J. Johnson from Grissom High School to Alabama last week, and now baseball. And, of course, Jackson Hunter from Hazel Green, Mitchell Wright. He's committed to the University of Alabama. And then we even talk a little Graham Ashcraft and Brewer Hicklin, two young men who were great players and great student athletes in our community. But Graham, of course, played at Huntsville High, signed with Mississippi State, and then ended up at UAB. Brewer signing with UAB out of Huntsville High School. And this is the kind of athlete that Brewer Hicklin was. To circle back to football, I know Bill Clark restarted that program. UAB football has been one of the better Group of 5 programs out there. Brewer Hicklin made the football team. Never played it down, was going to be a wide receiver for Bill Clark. He was put on football scholarship, but he was drafted that spring before the fall where he would have joined the football team. He was drafted in that 7th round and really signed for good money with the Kansas City Royals. Couldn't turn down that opportunity to be a professional baseball player, and now hopefully sooner rather than later, very soon as a matter of fact, hopefully the end of this season and into next, Brewer Hicklin will be a member of the Kansas City Royals. We're really looking forward to that. But we're really looking forward to our conversation in just a few minutes with Jarrell Jernigan. As we said, a very decorated football player, a 3rd-round draft choice from Troy University under the great Larry Blakeney, who built that program into a very well-respected one in Group of 5. Our great friend John Summerall has now taken the reins of the Troy program from Chip Lindsey. And here's the crazy part. Chip Lindsey, Bob Jones graduate, went to the UNA, was a really good player, and then went into coaching. He's from North Alabama, from our Madison County in our community. John Summerall, so back-to-back coaches at Troy, applied their trade here, grew up here, played high school and then college football. Of course, John, as we know, played for the late, great Ronnie Massey at Grissom High School, went on to play at Kentucky for Guy Morris, signed him. Then of course, Rich Brooks comes along, develops John, really good SEC linebacker, and then he goes into coaching, and now he will have his first game as the head football coach of the Troy Trojans, and that will be against Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss Rebels, and that will happen this Saturday. I believe that's a 3 o'clock kickoff on SEC Network, right before the University of Alabama at 6:30 takes on the Utah State Aggies. So please, everyone in our community, support John Summerall and the Troy Trojans as they take on the Ole Miss Rebels. You know, I'm going to be a Troy fan, definitely, when they take on Ole Miss. I'm rooting for John hard. He's earned this opportunity as well, much like Brewer working his way up through the minor leagues in baseball. John has worked his way up through the coaching ranks, certainly did a great job for Neil Brown on the defensive side of the ball as a co-defensive coordinator at Troy. And then moving on, he was the inside linebackers coach at Ole Miss for Matt Luke, and then for Mark Stoops at Kentucky before getting this opportunity to run his own program at Troy. And we just really look forward to this. I think he's going to elevate this Troy program back to one of the better Group of 5 programs in college football, much like he and Neil Brown did. Neil Brown now, of course, the head football coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers, and they have a backyard brawl tomorrow night, with Pat Narduzzi and the Pitt Panthers. That should be another interesting matchup on the opening weekend. And I consider this the real opening weekend. We had an appetizer last weekend, a few games, handful of them on the 27th of August, but this September the 3rd is going to be a loaded slate. Everybody, all the big dogs are playing. And so as Pat and I used to say, wait till the big dogs walk late. Well, there's going to be a lot of them on the field on Saturday, and we're certainly going to be monitoring the Troy Trojans as they travel to Oxford, Mississippi, to one of his old stomping grounds. John Summerall, as we said, coached at Ole Miss briefly, and then he's taken his team, his Troy Trojans, back there. And then next week on September the 10th, here's the great thing about fate. John Summerall, his first home game on the campus at Troy University will be against the Alabama A&M Bulldogs from his hometown. It will be an outstanding chance for him to get his first win as the Troy Trojans will take on the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. And so that should be another very interesting matchup on September the 10th, no question about that. But we're going to be joined in just a few minutes, and we're going to go on a break here on the Recruiting Blitz with D Squared on Blitz Sports Radio. Jarrell Jernigan, the head football coach of the Eufaula Tigers, former Troy Trojan, former NFL player, a Super Bowl champion with the New York Football Giants, the team that upset Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. I think it was during that, matter of fact, that undefeated run with Randy Moss. But Jarrell Jernigan got him a Super Bowl ring, played a few years in the National Football League, and he's going to join us next to talk some Jan Zapier and Eufaula Tigers football here on the Recruiting Blitz. Stay with us.
With us today, Dr. Tracy Lowry of Best Vein Care of Huntsville.
When we evaluate a patient and they indeed have significant venous disease, most third-party payers, private insurance, Medicare, require us to treat every patient conservatively at least 90 days. Conservative treatment includes increasing ambulation, elevation of the legs, and the wearing of compression stockings. It's very common for folks to come see us in March or April wanting to have their veins fixed before they go into swimsuits starting in June. When we see someone in March or April, they're going to require at least 90 days of conservative treatment before we can even go to the insurance carrier to get permission to treat their veins. So if you think you have a venous problem, now is the time to come in and get a free screening so we can determine whether or not you need something evaluated. If you have a vein problem or you think you may have a vein problem, now's the time to contact us at bestveincarehuntsville.com.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. Still a place to call for your installation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Blitz with D Squared on Blitz Sports Radio. It's been a great first part of the show, our first segment, just kind of setting the stage for our next guest. We certainly told you about him. He's a Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 46, the 21-17 win for the New York Football Giants over the New England Patriots. He played several years in the NFL, but before that was a four-time, all Sun Belt player for Larry Blakeney at Troy University. Had over 6,000 yards at Troy as a wide receiver. Went on to be a third-round pick of the New York Giants. Before that, was a star quarterback for the Eufaula Tigers. Had an outstanding career there with Courtney Upshaw, one of his teammates, who went on to be a national champion at the University of Alabama. A lot of great athletes have come out of Eufaula, and now he has taken over as the head football coach. Was on staff for 6 years, was the wide receivers coach before being elevated as head coach of the Tigers. And this is a program that's made the playoffs every year since 1997, but it hasn't made one of those state championship type runs where they came very close to winning a ring his senior year in that 2006 game against Athens before they fell to 10-7. And I know his goal is to get the Eufaula Tigers back to the 5A state championship. And Jarrell Jernigan has been good enough to join us this morning on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Coach, it's an honor to speak with you. You're with Rudy Armand on Blitz Sports Radio. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I want to thank y'all for having me on this morning.
Thank you for joining us. And it's got to feel great for you. I mean, you're still only 33 years old, so you're still a very young man, but you've had an unbelievable football journey so far, and it's come full circle back to being the head football coach at your alma mater, where you're one of the great athletes to ever come out of the school. But what has it felt like to move up to the head coaching position and take over this Eufaula program that I know did so much to shape your youth and your life when you were growing up there and then playing football for the Tigers yourself?
Oh, man, it feels good. It's like a dream come true to come back home, and I got so much support from the community, my school board and my superintendent, Joey Brandon. I mean, they support me 100%. So it's wonderful. A lot of the kids I know their parents. I played with some of their parents. So it's like a dream come true, come back home and being able to coach where you actually played at.
No doubt, and I know you played for Dan Klages, who had a great run there and did a great job as a head coach. And you take over for Ed Rigby. He's gone to the defending 5A champions Pike Road to take that program over. you coached under him, but now you've taken this Eufaula Tigers program over. And as you said, Joey Brandon, the superintendent, really showed a lot of faith in you. I read the statement that he made that, you know, they've gone outside the kind of the community and the staff to make the last two hires before yourself, but they felt really good about you internally and you're being a part of the program and elevating to head coach. And even though you're still only 33 and you're being a head coach this early, it had to be an opportunity that you were really kind of coveted and looking forward to.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, like I tell everybody, I wanted this job. I've been here. This is the only place I've been for the 6 years that I got done playing ball and came back and decided I wanted to coach. And this is home for me. You know, my family here. So this is really home, and I really wanted this job. And I look forward for the challenge and everything. So.
And I've got to ask you, too, because it kind of intertwines into our community. And I know you've probably interacted with him since he took over the program because you were such a prominent member of the Troy Trojan family. Our good friend John Summerall has taken over that program. He's getting ready to coach his first game on Saturday. Former Grissom Tiger here, and then coached at Troy and meant a lot to the Trojans program. But just how much interaction have you had with Coach Summerall, and what do you think about him taking over the Trojans? I know it's a very proud program that's won a lot of games, been one of the better group of five programs in college football. But your thoughts on the future of Troy football under John Summerall?
First of all, John Summerall, he's been very supportive since I got the job. You know, he takes calls. And I've been down there, and we'll talk and stuff. So that whole coaching staff has been supportive of me getting this job. But Coach Summerall going to do a great job. You know, I won't say he's a Troy guy, but he's been there, and he knows the ins and outs of Troy. You know, he was there when Neil Brown was there, who was my offensive coordinator and position coach when I played there. So he knows the ins and outs of Troy and what Troy needs. And I think that he got a good team coming back, you know, and they added some great players, you know, to fill for that board that we had. And I think he'll do great things this year.
Absolutely. And then your thoughts on your football team early on. We talked about early in the first segment, you guys, taking on Southside Selma and Russell County in a 2-half jamboree in week 0. So that's a little bit different. That game doesn't count. But then you did take the field for the first time. Your first game as coach, a 22-14 win against Stanhope Elmore. Your thoughts on your team's first games, Coach?
First off, I was proud of my team. That was a great team we played in Stanhope. You know, they had a good D-line, but I was proud of them for we fell behind early, then we fought back, never gave up. But I think my defense actually played a good game. Not a great game, but a good game. And our offense, we started off a little slow in the first half, but we came out in the second half and established the run and started moving the ball a little bit and gave our defense a break. So I was proud of them. Special teams, we got to clean up. You know, we still a little down on special teams right now. We got to clean special teams up. But other than that, I was proud on the way they fought back, and, you know, we never quit and came out with a victory.
And, Coach, as you take over this program, I mean, we made the statement about this as being a perennial playoff team, but they haven't been past the second round, really, I think, since one of the deep runs you guys made in 2006. I know this is a program that's very proud, though. What kind of shape was it in when you took over for Ed Rigby, and what are the expectations for your first year at the helm of the Eufaula Tigers?
Well, you know, the program was in good shape when Coach Rigby left. You know, he knew we were going to have players back this year. But I always tell my team now, like, our goal is not just to make the playoffs. Our goal is to go past the second round. Like you said, we haven't been since, I think, my senior year, when we made that deep run to the state championship game. So our goal is to make it deep in the playoffs, third, fourth round, you know. And but the top-notch goal is to make it to the state championship game. You know, that's number one goal. And I preach it to them every day in here, and we work hard, and hopefully we can get there this year.
And how are the numbers in the program, Coach? Like we had LaRon White on our sister station on my morning show talking ball before the Recruiting Blitz, and they've got 105 guys. So that when he told us that, we were like, wow, he's got 105 this year. He's in his 6th year. He's slowly built that program. Where are the numbers? Where are you numbers wise at Eufaula?
Right now, 9 through 12, I got like right at 85, 90 kids.
Nice.
9 through 12.
That's really good numbers there at that 5A school you follow. And, of course, we are going to – but our focus on this conversation, too, is going to be about one of your stars, Yanze Pierre, who had a really nice jamboree. We talked about that, 7 tackles, 6 for a loss, a sack, a forced fumble recovery, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And he took that momentum into your first game, hosting Stanhope Elmore. 6 tackles, tackle for loss, 4 pass breakups, 4 quarterback pressures, and a 2-point conversion. I've heard really good things about this young man, Coach. I know you had a chance to see him develop during his career before you took over as head coach, and now he's one of the centerpieces for you defensively. You were talking about how proud of your defense you were in the first game against a tough Stanhope team, especially falling behind early. But what kind of player for our listeners is Yanze Pierre?
Oh, man, he's a phenomenal player. He's one of those ones that just has that it factor. You know, when coaches say he just has the it factor. I mean, he got the size, he's long, but, I mean, he's a player when it comes down to it. His first step off the ball is like, I haven't seen no one with a first step that fast off the ball. But he's just one of those ones, he come to work every day in the weight room, great kid, you know, don't get in any trouble, but also he wants to work every day and wants to get better. I mean, but he just got that it factor. You put him out there and he makes plays. And,
Coach, talk about him, too. I know I was just looking at his size, but you're around him every day. You watch him work. What is his height and weight right now, Yanze Pierre?
Right now, 6'4", about 230.
230, and really good length, and then as you talked about, Coach, that's a great thing for our listeners to hear. Length has become so important on defense in this era of football.
I mean, it's really important. Friday night against Stanhope, he had I want to say 5 batted down balls.
Wow.
And that stopped a lot of people. Don't realize how big that is when you got someone who can get back there, get pressure on the quarterback, and deflect passes and stuff. That helps your secondary out a lot.
It does, and I know when you were at Eufaula, you were a quarterback yourself, great athlete, and of course one of your teammates. We mentioned him coming into the segment, and even beforehand to start the show, Courtney Upshaw, an MVP in the national championship game in his final game at Alabama, recovered a huge fumble in 2009 to win a national championship in the Rose Bowl, went on to a long pro career just like yourself, played in the NFL. How does Yanze Pierre kind of compare to Courtney? Courtney was a two-way guy. You threw passes to him at tight end. He was an outstanding player, but how do they compare to one another?
I tell everybody, because I get this question a lot.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yanze Pierre is more athletic than Courtney was. He's more athletic. He's faster than Courtney was, but Courtney was bigger. He was more beefier than Yanze, and that's why now we're working hard in the weight room with Yanze trying to put some more weight on him. So I would say Yanze more athletic, but Courtney was more bigger and fit for stopping the run. Not saying that Yanze can't stop the run, because he can. He's got better in the last year in stopping the run, but he's a better pass rusher than Courtney Upshaw was.
And we see that, too, because Courtney ended up beefing up into a defensive tackle in the NFL. He played basically the Jack Backer spot at Alabama, but had his hand in the dirt a lot, but then beefed up, played defensive tackle for many years in the NFL for teams like the Atlanta Falcons. Yanze looks like almost like a Will Anderson type, maybe even a guy that plays Sam. What is Alabama? I know you obviously communicate with their staff. They've recruited and have Yanze committed, but what are their plans for Yanze? What do you think, where does his future lie at Alabama defensively in their scheme?
I think they're looking at him to play him in the same position as Will Anderson playing right now. So I think that's perfect for him right now. And I always tell him when I talk to him, I tell him, if you ever get as mean as Courtney was, you'd be a hell of a player. Which he's already a hell of a player now, but like it's just something about when Courtney Upshaw was on that field, he had no friends out there. So, and I always tell him, I said, if you ever get that together, and I said, you'll be unstoppable.
That's a great segue and a great point to make, because I always thought when I watched Courtney play that, and I use the term ornery, but I always thought he played with a nasty streak.
Courtney was mean.
Yeah, I mean,
Courtney was mean as a player on the field now.
Yeah, I'll never forget the game in the swamp against Florida. with John Brantley. He basically ended Brantley's career, and not with a dirty play, but just a big hit at the end of the half, sacking the QB. I mean, he just seemed like a guy that was hard to move, was a extremely and an effort guy, a guy that gave second and third effort, because a lot of times that's what the great pass rushers do. It's not about your first step's very important, but you have to continue to give effort, and Courtney always did. And if Yanze does that, and that's some things I was hearing about Yanze, because I mean, you talked about it when we started our segment, Coach, that he loves to work. And I know when he came to Alabama's camp this summer, he didn't really have to work out. He was already committed, but it sounds like he put on a pretty good show in Tuscaloosa when he came down to work out.
Oh, yeah, he put on a great show when he went to work out. I don't think they had no one out there that can block him. I mean, he was coming out the end. Like I said before, his first step is, it's fast. I haven't seen the first step like that in a while.
And he's no question about it. And but I also wanted you to talk about your program as a whole. Certainly, he's a big centerpiece of it. But Eufaula has a lot of great athletes. They have excellent athletics. Coach Michael Smith does a great job with the basketball program. But talk about some of your other kids maybe to watch, because certainly you and Courtney came out of Eufaula and went to the highest level, to the NFL. Yanze would like to do that, but tell us about some of the other young players in your program to watch as Eufaula Tigers going forward.
Well, I got my left tackle that's committed to Georgia Tech, Patrick Screws. He's 6'6". He's right at 285, 290. He's committed to Georgia Tech, and he's playing great ball right now. So that's another big key to our offense and our team right there. And then we got another corner, and it's funny that you say Michael Smith in the basketball program, because I coached basketball with him the last 6 years, and I was here until this year until I took over. So we work hand in hand getting some of these basketball players out to play football. And I got a corner this year named Tony Coleman. He's about 6'2", long, lanky kid. He's a basketball kid, and he gets some interest now. He's a 24 kid. He's going to be wonderful. Last week we put him on Stanhope, top receiver that's committed to Troy University, and he did a phenomenal job on him. I think he had like 3 or 4 catches and only had like 50-some yards receiving.
So that's some kids to watch at Eufaula. And then, Coach, talk about your outlook for the season. Certainly, you guys have high expectations. Like you said, your expectation for this Eufaula program is to get back to that state championship game, much like you did when you and Courtney were seniors in 2006. You guys are headed to Headland this weekend, or on Friday, I should say. And this is, of course, going to be the first week of 5A Region 2. Talk about the region and your schedule and how it sets up for the Eufaula Tigers this year.
Oh, yeah, the region. I got a little tough little region. Like you said, we had the Headland this week. And that's going to be our first region game, so we'll get tested down there. They on a high horse right now. They got 2 big wins. They 2-0. So we got to go in and play ball, all 3 phases, especially special teams. I can't preach that enough, because last 2 games we haven't played really good on special teams. But our region, Greenville, they got Coach Browning from Pike Road. He's down in Greenville doing a phenomenal job. And then offense, they run down there. And then you got Charles Henderson, Coach Hambright doing a wonderful job there, and Coach Plott down in Ozark. So we got a tough little region. We got our work cut out for us, but I think our kids up to the challenge. We've been working all summer since I got this job, conditioning, getting ready for this, this season in a tough region.
Well, and no question. I know you're focused right now on Headland, and as you said, they're 2-0. But then the next week, it's the Ed Rigby Bowl. I know he meant a lot to your career, and now he's at Pike Road, and you guys will have to travel over there.
No, actually, they come to us. Pike Road.
Oh, they are coming to you. Okay, my apologies.
Pike Road come to us. Actually, after Headland, we actually traveled to Greenville. Then after Greenville, Pike Road come to us.
My bad. I was just looking at the schedule here. I guess the schedule was not correct. Sometimes I was looking at to try to see how your schedule was setting up. So thank you for correcting me there. But yeah, absolutely. So Greenville's going to be a tough challenge. They've got athletes. Certainly, so will Pike Road. So that will be an emotional game for those kids, because I know Ed Rigby meant a lot to you guys as he takes over that state championship program. But again, for your guys, what's going to be the most critical thing as a team where you guys need to improve to make a run to win 5A Region 2 and have a chance to make a deep postseason run, Coach?
Basically, my thing that I tell the kids is attention to detail. I'm a big detail guy. I mean, just the little things. Detail, I tell them all the time. If we pay attention to detail and get the little detail stuff, we'll be successful. And basically, like I keep preaching special teams. We got to get special teams down. Like, that's a third of the game right there. If we win special teams and win another phase, I mean, I feel good about the night coming off on Friday night. So just a big thing. And the big thing with us offensive-wise is get our run game going so we can open up the pass game, and defense keep playing like they're playing. I mean, get pressure on the quarterback and make plays in the back end. I got a safety back there, Dominic Floyd, who's playing really well right now. He's a senior this year. He's getting some looks also from Troy University and some more mid-major schools. So if my defense keep playing like they're playing and offense come along, I think we'll be sitting fine on Friday night.
No doubt, and as we said, now to correct it, they are going to be headed to Headland this week on Friday night, and then they will host Greenville. They will travel to Greenville. I'm sorry, they will travel to Greenville. Then they will host Pike Road, and then they will have Carroll of Ozark coming in, Pell City, and Pell City, of course, now has our good friend Steve Mask taking over that program. That will be a road game, and they will be they will host Charles Henderson in Rehoboth. They will also host, and then they will be making a road trip to Blakely, Georgia, against Early County for a road game at the end of the schedule. So a challenging schedule for the Eufaula Tigers. And coaches, we're wrapping up our conversation. I would be remiss if we didn't go back and ask you once again about Yanze Pierre. He's of course got off to a great start for you this year. What have you talked about with him? What's the parts of his game, though? I know you're working on getting him bigger in the weight room. He's 6'4", 230. What's the parts of his game, though, that you've been working with him to improve the most?
Basically just in the run game, and basically staying on the field. Conditioning, which he's very conditioning, but everyone has to get a blow here and there. But basically just getting better in the run game. Chasing stuff down from the backside because normally people's not gonna run at him. And so I tell them all the time, I say the good ones make plays regardless if they run at them or not. Just give them that motor like Courtney has, like you mentioned earlier. That just having that motor and constantly going. I tell them all the time, if you need a blow here and there, tell me. We'll get you out here and there, get you a blow, get you right back in.
And so he does
play. Just fine-tuning his skills.
Pardon me, Coach. Absolutely. And he does play both ways for you, much like Courtney did when you guys played?
Yes, he does. He does play both ways.
So is he a tight end on offense, Coach?
Yeah, we kind of got him at tight end, or we can flex him out. That's the versatility we have with him. I mean, we flex him out as a receiver, throw the fade ball to him. We can bring him down, put him down, attack with his hand in the dirt, have him block, down block, release from a tight end position. So that's really the good versatility we have with him. And, people can't really game plan us whether he's going to be attached or detached out as a receiver.
Says a lot about him that he can do all those different things, both offensively and defensively. And Coach, what is he planning on doing? Is he going to enroll early from Eufaula, or is he going to continue to compete maybe, and is he a multi-sport kid? What is his future right now?
Well, he's a multi-sport kid as of right now. I don't think he made a decision up right now. We are on a block schedule, so if he decides to want to be early enrollee, he can do that because he's set to graduate early if he chooses to. But as of right now, we don't know. We'll sit down when that time comes and talk about it.
Then does he also compete on the basketball court? Is he a basketball kid too?
Yeah, he did play basketball last year, yes.
Nice. So we know Michael Smith well. They've had some really good basketball at Eufaula the last few years. And before that, he had a great program at Russellville as well. So Eufaula Tigers, great athletic program. And as we said, the Eufaula Tigers now start 5A Region 2 play, and they will be traveling to Headland, 2-0 Headland against 1-0 Eufaula, and then Greenville, the emotional road trip, great program there, and then hosting Ed Rigby and Pike Road. So that's going to be a couple of huge games coming up for the Eufaula Tigers. Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. You've done a great job in your career so far, rising up the ranks, and you've got Eufaula definitely going in the right direction. We're going to be definitely tracking the Eufaula Tigers this year. And Yanze Pierre, outstanding student athlete who's off to a strong start in his senior year. And, of course, you and Ed Rigby have had a huge impact on him and developing him for a chance to do much like yourself and follow in the footsteps of yourself and Courtney Upshaw to the NFL. But we appreciate the time on the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio this morning, and we look forward to, sounds like you got some young kids coming up, going to be great players. We'll probably definitely be reconnecting on the Blitz again. But thank you for joining us this morning and talking some Eufaula football, and congrats on the success in your career thus far.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. That is Jarrell Jernigan, first-year head football coach, Eufaula Tigers, royalty there. A Eufaula Tiger growing up, went on to Troy to become a great player, 6,000-yard receiver, third-round pick of the New York Football Giants, Super Bowl 46 champion, and now at the helm of Eufaula, been there 6 years, taking over that program. Yonze Pierre, one of the great players in a loaded 2023 class. But we're going to go on a break. When we come back, we're going to close down this edition of the Recruiting Blitz on the Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D-Squared Rudy Armand. Stay with us.
The Blitz has been called.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of the Stanton Law Firm. Stan, I guess you are the Stanton in the law firm.
Yes, Wes, that's me, and we started the Stanton Law Firm so that myself and 4 other attorneys with me can help clients litigate, negotiate, and creatively solve legal and real estate problems.
Now, Stan, you grew up on a family farm in this area and have made a name closing on houses and land with your closing company, Jacob Title.
I grew up on a farm which used to be in the country. That, plus having closed on so many homes and farms, one of my colleagues started referring to me as a classic dirt lawyer. Now, I didn't know how to take that at first, that tag, but I realized that's exactly what I do and what I am.
And I know the attorneys at Stanton Law Firm are regular listeners, and we plan to have you on periodically. You and I have seen have impacted this community.
Stay tuned, and you may hear about friends like Steve Booker, Clarence Johnson, Thomas Boyd, and even a few of those offensive line hogs like Hoss Johnson, and maybe you remember some other of those guys too.
I remember Clarence Johnson. He beat us one year. He was unbelievable.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
With us today, Dr. Tracy Lowry of Best Vein Care of Huntsville.
When we evaluate a patient and they indeed have significant venous disease, most third-party payers, private insurance, Medicare, require us to treat every patient conservatively at least 90 days. Conservative treatment includes increasing ambulation, elevation of the legs, and the wearing of compression stockings. It's very common for folks to come see us in March or April wanting to have their veins fixed before they go into swimsuits starting in June. When we see someone in March or April, they're going to require at least 90 days of conservative treatment before we can even go to the insurance carrier to get permission to treat their veins. So if you think you have a venous problem, now is the time to come in and get a free screening so we can determine whether or not you need something evaluated. If you have a vein problem or you think you may have a vein problem, now's the time to contact us at bestveincarehuntsville.com.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Okay, Sarah, I'm dropping you at Emily's, and Josh, you're going to soccer, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, and by the way, when I pick you up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, me and my short shorts doing my daddy dance. Your friends will love it.
No!
Well, I might change my mind if you buckle your seatbelts.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Whatever it takes, keep them safe. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Welcome back. Last few minutes of the Blitz, the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D-Squared, Rudy Armand. Been another great edition of the Recruiting Blitz, and we want to thank Jarrell Jernigan, one of the great players in Troy Trojans history, for the for Larry Blakeney, who had an unbelievable run there before retiring in 2014. And Jarrell Jernigan, you could argue, was the best receiver of the Troy era for Larry Blakeney. 4-year Sun Belt Conference champion, 6,000 yards receiving before being a third-round draft pick of the New York Football Giants and being a part of that Super Bowl upset of the undefeated New England Patriots, 21-17. In other words, the David Tyree game. Eli Manning, his second Super Bowl win, but just an unbelievable comeback there, and Jarrell Jernigan a part of it, and played a few years in the National Football League. But before that, as we said, was a great receiver at Troy, and then he really applied his trade as a great athlete, multi-sport athlete at Eufaula High School, but as a high school quarterback there, led the Tigers to that state championship appearance in Birmingham. I think at that point in time, I'd have to go back and look and see where the game was played, but I know it was a 10-7 loss, very narrow one, against the Athens Golden Eagles, as Alan Creasy brought a blue trophy back to North Alabama. But he led a state championship run, did Jarrell Jernigan, for the Eufaula Tigers as they fall to Athens, but a great run for them, and he had a great high school career there for Eufaula as they nearly win a state title with his teammate Courtney Upshaw, who went on to become an NFL player in his own right and a national champion with the University of Alabama and a Super Bowl participant with the Atlanta Falcons. So just two guys that reached the Super Bowl, two guys that plied their trade in high school football for Dan Klages at Eufaula, but just proving that we have great talent here in this state. And Jarrell Jernigan helping mold some more of it with Jan Zapier, the great pass rusher for the Eufaula Tigers. It was great catching up with Jarrell Jernigan, and enjoy it, everybody. It's been another great Recruiting Blitz with D Squared on Blitz Sports Radio. Tune into the Blitz today from 2 to 4 with our cavalcade of stars, and we'll come to you tomorrow talking some more recruiting at 9 a.m. on the Blitz Sports Radio Recruiting Blitz with D Squared. Have a